Smokey Robinson, the legend with the smooth voice and timeless hits, just revealed something that no one saw coming. You won't believe the journey he's been on, because behind the spotlight, behind all the fame and success, was a storm that almost destroyed him. Let me tell you, this is how the story really began. Far away from stages and awards, in a small crowded house in Detroit where dreams felt too big to fit in. Born in 1940, Smokey was just a little boy when his parents split up. Life got harder when his mother passed away when he was only 10. That was the moment everything changed. His older sister, Geraldine, who already had 6 children of her own, took him in. Soon there were 11 children living under one roof, packed into every room, sharing beds, sharing clothes, and barely making it through. Smokey slept in a tiny bed with 2 nephews. It was more like a narrow slab than an actual bed. He said they didn't even realize they were poor because everyone around them was going through the same thing. That kind of life could break someone, but for Smokey, it built something else: resilience. Even in that chaos, he found peace in music. His mom used to play records before she passed, and those songs stayed in his heart. While most kids were outside running wild, Smokey would sit quietly, listening, learning, and dreaming. But here is the shocking part. His neighborhood wasn't just poor, it was dangerous. Fights broke out often, and not just shouting or punching. He saw kids knock each other out with baseball bats. He had to grow up fast, keep his head down, and somehow survive. What makes this story different? It's not just that he became famous, it's that he did it while carrying the weight of trauma most people couldn't imagine. He faced racism at a young age, especially when he started touring with Motown. Some hotels wouldn't let him in, restaurants refused to serve him, and he performed in front of crowds divided by skin color, black on one side, white on the other. Even in the music industry, racism followed him. Record labels hid black artists' faces so white buyers wouldn't know who was singing. But Smokey never backed down. He believed music could break those walls, and he worked harder, writing songs that touched everyone. But destiny took an unexpected turn. Even though Smokey was climbing to the top, even though he had fame and money, pain was never too far behind. His marriage to Claudette Rogers, a fellow singer in The Miracles, was already struggling behind the smiles. They had gone through painful miscarriages, and the weight of it all grew heavier. And then something happened that no one could have predicted: an affair with someone no one would believe. Yes, Diana Ross, the same Diana Ross who was his close friend, the same one who came from his neighborhood, the same one who became a Motown icon too. Smokey revealed they had a romantic relationship that lasted for a year. The craziest part, he was still married, and it wasn't just a fling. Smokey called it beautiful, even though it hurt people deeply. The affair with Diana Ross didn't just complicate Smokey's personal life, it lit a fire that burned through everything he had built. This is where it gets interesting. Smokey wasn't just a man who made love songs. Now he was trapped in a love triangle that threatened to destroy the very foundation of his life. His marriage with Claudette, already bruised by years of silent suffering, couldn't take the weight of this secret. They had faced heartbreak after heartbreak with multiple miscarriages, and now this betrayal shattered what little peace was left. Claudette had been by his side from the beginning, from their early Motown days, singing background vocals while he stood center stage. But now, the trust was gone. The silence between them grew louder. Smokey said Diana ended the affair, realizing he still loved his wife. But the damage was done. Their 27-year marriage ended in 1986. But here's the twist that no one expected. While the world saw Smokey Robinson as the polished star with hit records and a golden voice behind closed doors, he was falling apart. That same year, after the divorce, he fell into a deep, dark place. He had never been into drugs. He had spent most of his career clean, focused, and disciplined. But when someone introduced him to cocaine, he didn't think twice. At first, it felt harmless. A quick boost, a little energy. But the addiction grabbed him faster than he ever imagined. He started using daily. Soon, he stopped caring about his health, his friends, his future. He lost weight quickly, shrinking down to just 120 pounds. His clothes wouldn't stay on his body, and he had to use safety pins to keep his pants up. The physical pain was bad, but the emptiness inside was worse. Smokey described how he hated himself. He couldn't understand why he let things get this far. If I could have written down the life I wanted, it would have been exactly what I had, he once said. So why was I destroying it? The cocaine wasn't just killing his body. It was tearing his soul apart. Friends started to notice. He looked weak. He sounded different. He was no longer the Smokey they knew. And then came the moment that changed everything. Actor Leon Kennedy, one of his closest friends, stepped in, not with judgment, but with prayer. He invited Smokey to a church service. Smokey didn't expect much, but what happened next shocked him. The pastor spoke things about Smokey's life that no one could have known. It felt like someone had opened his heart and read every secret. Right there in that room, Smokey broke down. The craziest part, he walked into that church as an addict and walked out clean. Just like that. No rehab, no program. He said he felt the addiction leave him completely, like it had been lifted off his shoulders. That was the moment faith took over his life. But the road to healing didn't end there. Smokey had to rebuild everything. His body, his soul, and his purpose. Now, he wasn't just a singer, he was a survivor. Someone who had walked through fire and come out alive. Someone who could speak to pain because he had lived it. After Smokey Robinson walked out of that church, free from addiction, it seemed like a miracle. But here's the shocking part. It wasn't just about staying clean. His real battle had just begun. You see, coming back from the edge meant he had to face everything he had ignored for years. The broken relationships, the regret, the guilt, and most of all, the music. For decades, Smokey had poured his soul into his songs, but now those songs were tied to memories, some beautiful, some painful. He wanted to move forward, but something from the past kept pulling him back. That something was a legal storm brewing beneath the surface. After his divorce from Claudette, things turned messy, not just emotionally, but financially. And this is where destiny took an unexpected turn. Under U.S. law, music written during a marriage is considered joint property. So when Smokey and Claudette split, she was awarded rights to half of the songs he had written between 1958 and 1985. That's right, half of the timeless classics that built Motown were now legally split. At first, Smokey accepted it. He thought it was part of the cost of everything he had lost. But as the years passed, something started to eat at him. He had written those songs from his own blood, sweat, and tears. Could he really just walk away from them? Let me tell you, Smokey didn't just sit back, he fought. In the 2000s, he began using a copyright law that allowed artists to reclaim ownership of their songs 35 years after they were first published. He filed a petition to take back his rights, but Claudette wasn't backing down. The courtroom turned into a battlefield. The press stayed quiet, but behind the scenes, it was brutal. Contracts were dragged out. Decades-old documents were reviewed. Lawyers debated over lyrics and royalties. What makes this story different? It wasn't about money anymore. It was about legacy. Smokey didn't want someone else to own the story of his life. After years of legal back and forth, a private settlement was finally reached in 2014. Details stayed confidential, but it was clear that Smokey had regained control over a major part of his catalog. It was a quiet victory, but an important one. But while that fight ended, another war was rising, one that affected not just Smokey, but an entire generation of musicians. The music industry had changed. Songs made before 1972 weren't protected under federal copyright laws in the same way newer music was. That meant legends like Smokey weren't getting paid when their songs played on streaming platforms, radio, or in commercials. It was ludicrous. How could the icons of American music not be protected? Smokey took a stand. In 2018, he went to Washington, D.C. and testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about fairness for all the artists who helped shape the soul of America. "We are not relics," he said. "We are creators." His voice cracked with emotion, but his message was clear. And it worked. Congress passed the Music Modernization Act later that year. It gave pre-1972 artists their long overdue rights and recognition. Smokey helped lead that change. He didn't just survive the music business, he transformed it. Just when it felt like Smokey Robinson had finally found peace, clean from addiction, victorious in court, and respected across the world, life threw him one more twist. You won't believe what happened next. In 2004, Smokey faced a health scare that nearly ended everything. Out of nowhere, he was diagnosed with a rare and life-threatening heart condition. He had already overcome so much: poverty, addiction, heartbreak, but this was different. This wasn't something he could fight with a song or a legal team. This was his body telling him that time was running out. He was rushed into surgery. It was serious, and for a moment, the world held its breath. What makes this story different? Smokey didn't just survive the operation. He woke up a changed man. Lying in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, he realized something. He had been given another chance. But this one wasn't for fame or money. It was for something deeper. He had to slow down. He had to listen to himself, to his heart, and to the quiet voice inside that had been drowned out by years of noise. During his recovery, Smokey turned completely to his faith. He began meditating, praying, and connecting with his spiritual side more than ever before. This wasn't just healing, it was a rebirth. He started journaling, reflecting, and speaking at events about redemption, faith, and self-worth. The craziest part? He said that even with all his fame and awards, it was this journey, this spiritual awakening, that gave his life true meaning. And yes, he returned to music, but now with a different purpose. His lyrics weren't just catchy, they carried weight, they carried history. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2023, decades after the peak of his fame, Smokey did something no one expected. He opened up about his secret affair with Diana Ross. It had been a quiet rumor for years, but now he confirmed it himself. And it wasn't just a fling, it lasted for a whole year, right in the middle of his marriage. He admitted it was wrong, but he also called it beautiful. Imagine the shock. Two Motown legends tangled in a love story behind closed doors. Fans were stunned. Why reveal this now? Smokey said it was time to be honest, even if it hurt. The affair added yet another layer to his already complex story. Diana ended it knowing he still loved Claudette, but the damage had already been done. The trust was broken, his marriage dissolved, and the pain of miscarriages and distance only made things worse. Still, Smokey didn't run from the truth. He believed it was possible to love more than one person at once, even if the world didn't understand. He owned his mistakes and turned them into lessons, hoping his story could help someone else avoid the same heartbreak. Now in his 80s, Smokey Robinson isn't just a music icon. He's a symbol of survival. From the noisy streets of Detroit to the global stage, from drug addiction to divine healing, from courtroom battles to private confessions, his life has been anything but simple. But that's exactly what makes it unforgettable. And if you followed this story until now, you know one thing for sure. Destiny took an unexpected turn, but Smokey Robinson walked through every fire and came out shining.